Hello, I'm Keira, reporting for YouthSpin. You're listening to YouthSpin, a radio program run by high school students. Today, I'm going to talk about climate change. I'm going to answer 3 questions that will help us in our investigation. First, what causes climate change? Second, how does it affect us and our environment? And finally, what can we do to help reduce the negative impacts of climate change? Okay, let's jump right into the first question. What causes climate change? Well, first, let's make sure we have a basic understanding of what it is. Whether it's what's going on at the moment. It is sunny or it is rainy. Climate is the overall weather or the weather trends. For example, in City A in February, for example, low temperatures tend to be around 30 degrees Fahrenheit and about half the days are sunny. That's an example of climate. And climate change is when the overall weather or climate changes. In our previous example, what if I told you that 2 decades ago, City A in February had low temperatures of around 27 degrees, while right now, the low temperatures tend to be around 30 degrees. That would be climate change. So, now to answer the real question. What causes climate change? Unfortunately, it's mostly our fault. Greenhouse gases created by humans tend to heat up the planet. These gases come from extensive farming, factories, cars, and other vehicles, power plants, and many other sources. How the planet should work is that sunlight heats up the planet, but some of that sunlight is reflected off of the planet. Greenhouse gases help prevent some of that light from exiting, and that helps heat up our planet and keep it nice and warm for life to exist. But if there's too many greenhouse gases, then that can make it really hot. Greenhouse gases are not from greenhouses, but rather they form a greenhouse effect on the planet, warming it up as if the Earth was a greenhouse. Greenhouse gases can come from natural sources, but greenhouse gases created by humans, from fossil fuels, carbon emissions, and the like, heat up the planet more than it's supposed to be. Let us move on to the second question. How does climate change affect both the environment and us humans? I'm going to start with the environmental impacts. Global warming is a big byproduct of climate change, and global warming can affect very sensitive populations. For example, a group of researchers found that as temperatures rise, Amazonian birds evolve. Fewer creatures and plants are able to survive, therefore the food available for the birds to eat decreases. Because of this, the birds are shrinking, about 2% smaller each decade since the late 70s. The smaller size means that birds need less food to survive and they're able to cool off faster. Because smaller birds generally have more surface area in relation to their mass or their weight, this allows the heat to escape faster. Another impact that was found in birds was their wing sizes. About a third of the Amazonian birds studied grew longer wings. Unlike the smaller sizes, the ideas on why this occurred are less concrete. One idea that researchers have about the reasoning for the birds growing longer wings is that having longer wings allows birds to glide easier, therefore using up less precious energy. This bird study is interesting and all, but what about all those natural disasters and stuff? We all know that natural disasters that can be caused by climate change destroy animal habitats and give them unsafe drinking water. But what about humans? How do natural disasters affect humans? Of course, it destroys homes and other structures and decimates infrastructures, but what about our health? Climate change and global warming can cause an increase in heat waves and their severity, along with a drop in air quality, which can cause heart and lung diseases, which can be deadly in many scenarios. Global warming also extends the warmer seasons, causing an increase in pollen from trees and disease-carrying insects, such as mosquitoes carrying the Zika virus. Global warming causes polar ice caps to melt, rising sea levels. Because of this, contaminated water can often reach water supplies in cases of floods. So that's all fairly depressing. But are some things we can do to help? This brings us to our third question. How can we help lessen the effects of climate change and global warming? So here are 2 easy to implement ideas on how to help reduce climate change. The first is to throw away fewer things. Of course, you do not want to get to the point where your yard is literally a junkyard, but just try to reduce the amount of trash you produce. This could be donating your old clothes instead of throwing them away, not buying an excess of food that's later going to go to waste, or simply placing recyclable items in the recycling bin instead of the trash can. The second easy to implement idea on how to reduce climate change is by buying local food and goods. This saves air pollution from vehicles transporting the goods, and buying local can also help boost your local economy. An added bonus to buying from small businesses is that their employees are often treated much better. All of this might seem like it might not make a big difference, but if enough people work hard to reduce climate change, a real difference can be made. Okay, so let's recap. Today we talked about climate change, and we were trying to answer 3 questions. First, what causes climate change? We established that the main cause of climate change and global warming is human-made greenhouse gases from farms, factories, cars, power plants, among others. Our second question is, how does climate change affect us and the environment? It can cause changes in nature and evolutions, such as Amazonian birds growing longer wings and becoming smaller. It can also cause a variety of health problems in humans, such as heat-related illnesses and lung disease, as well as illnesses from water contamination. Our last question was, what can we do to help? We can produce less trash by recycling, donating, and not overbuying. We can buy local foods and goods, which also helps our local economies. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Keira, reporting for Youthspin.